welcome back to the channel. Ryan Nordahl here, Epic Whitetail Habitat LLC. We're approaching the end of August here, and I'm standing here in my food plot giving an assessment, and we got into this one a little bit late. I've been doing all my client properties, trying to get them in the ground. We're still finishing up some client properties here. We've got another project, a big project coming from scratch, coming up here in the next couple weeks. That'll be in Northern Illinois, so I feel I've got a little bit of time, but yet season is fast approaching and we're running out of time. But I have a solution for that. But anyway, here we've been really dry again here, and we're really hot and humid here today. We're approaching the century mark as far as temperature goes, and it's feeling even hotter with the amount of humidity and the dew points reaching near 80-degree dew points here today, and so it's miserable. And we're just out here shooting some videos, but today's topic is going to be on the power of winter rye and why I like to use winter rye and why it should be at the base of your food plot program too as well going into fall. You're going to see a lot of farmers in the area, probably in the areas that you live, if you live in ag country like I do, that are going to be taking corn off for corn silage. A lot of beans coming off too here in the next month to 6 weeks, and you're going to see a lot of farmers going back in end of September, the first few weeks all the way to the end of October really, and they're doing that for a cover crop, and it's going to help with weed suppression, not so much from there being an allelopathic method to it, meaning rye puts out a toxin, if you will, that kills weeds. No, it's just that rye will germinate so fast. Plus, going into the fall, you're not getting a lot of the annual broadleaf and grass weeds that you get, as far, like when you do a summer food plot. You don't have the weed competition. They're starting to go dormant as we get into fall. That time of year, first frost will kill them out, but it will not kill rye. So it gives rye gets a chance to get ahead of those weeds. It germinates really fast. Heck, it'll germinate in the back of your pickup truck or on a flatbed trailer. But rye, it fills the gaps. I take a plot like I'm in right now, right here, getting dry like it is, and these young brassicas that are coming in here. With this heat and humidity, the severe heat and the direct sunlight, it's going to probably burn up. If this heat were to last, I should say, if the heat and the dry conditions were to last a significant period of time, these little brassicas will eventually burn up. And I'm at about a 50-50 standpoint right now where maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't happen. I'm praying that it doesn't happen because I put a lot of money into this, and I'm sure you guys have as well. But if your stands look thin, or you're battling drought conditions, and your brassicas and whatever else you planted for fall food plots is not coming along, this is where winter rye is really going to fill in the gap. And it is the cheapest fall food plot that you can implement on your property. When you do the math, it requires very little to nothing. I mean, it'll grow in some of the worst pH soil conditions, and blow sand. Like I said before, it'll grow in the back of your pickup truck. It'll grow on a flatbed trailer. And I've seen it grow in blow sand that, but it helps add organic matter. It gets you through the fall season. It'll be the first to green up in the wintertime. You always see it here, like in hill country here where I'm at. These knobs and rolling hills here in ag country, you get a warm day in the wintertime, or a series of warm days in the wintertime, and those knobs, those knolls start to melt off. It's that first green source that starts to stick out, especially you start getting into latter part of February into March and April here in the upper Midwest. it's that first green up. It'll first green up in the springtime, before, and it really never does go dormant brown. It stays green all winter long underneath the snow blanket, and but it stays green, and it'll start to regerminate. Or I shouldn't say germinate, but it'll start growing again at a 37 degree soil temperature, long before clover ever will. Now clover, it's significantly low as far as when it starts to come out of dormancy again, but winter rye, all the way down to 37 degree soil temperature, 2-inch soil temperature we're talking. But it fills in the gaps, provides nutrition basically all the way through, from the time it germinates in the fall all the way through till whatever you do with it. Not that deer are really going to consume it when it starts to get over a certain, I want to say up to 18 inches tall. Then deer tend to leave it alone, but that's usually because there's other green food sources coming on that time of year, in the spring of the year, early summer. And I like winter rye as a basis to carry me into the next growing season. It carries me to that next phase, which is generally buckwheat then, first part of June to the middle of June. And I simply roll it down, start the process all over again. Buckwheat is my base through the summer months, and then come back for my fall planting, roll that buckwheat down, and the process starts over again. But winter rye, it's a great way to build organic matter in the soil, especially your sandier soils and stuff. But I use it in a variety of soil types. Here where I'm at in this plot, this is a little bit heavier clay soil, clay loam soil, but it helps. It's filled in the gaps. I've had soybeans here in the past, and the deer have just, decimated the soybeans, and I wanted a green food source going into fall. Yeah, we sprinkled some brassicas in here, but we also had some big gaps with our brassicas in the past, mixed in with those soybeans. So we come back in with a top of winter rye at about 50 pounds, 1 bushel, 1 to 1.5 bushels per acre. You can also do what another constituent of mine calls, the 3 layering system of rye. You go in with a equivalent of 200 pounds to the acre of rye here coming up, around Labor Day weekend. Midway, about 2 to 3 weeks later, you go back in with another 75 to 100 pounds of rye, and then that first part of October, first week or so, you can go back in with another 50 to 100 pounds of winter rye. That way you've always got fresh growth coming all the time. And now is the time to be thinking about rye. Maybe you haven't even thought about fall food plots yet here in the north. If you live here in the northern tier states and you want to get a green food source in and have something there for the deer, again, it's really the cheapest fall food plot that you can implement into your food plot program. And it doesn't have to break the bank. It's probably one of my #1 go-to food plot seeds that are out there. Again, it's rye grain, winter rye grain. It's not annual ryegrass or anything like that. It has its place. Winter ryegrass, or I shouldn't say winter ryegrass. Ryegrass has its place. It's just not here. And I think down south it might be, but it's definitely not here. Winter rye grain is what we're looking for. And I think you should try it this year as well. If you are experiencing dry conditions like we are here in the upper Midwest, the last rain we had was about the time I planted this. We had a nice 1.5 to 2 inch rain over a period of a few days, but now it's been a couple weeks. We've been extremely dry again here now, going on 2 weeks. And it might be the prime situation where I come back in with some rye. We'll see how these brassicas do going forward. Hopefully we get a little bit of rain here going into the next week. We've got a shot of rain coming up here at the end of the week, this week. It doesn't look good, but we'll see how these brassicas survive, and rye might be our answer to carry us through. I know there's a lot of other guys. I've had people call me up saying they didn't plant anything for fall because it has been so dry here in the upper Midwest since spring, really. But they're looking for something now that we have been getting some rains to carry them through into the first parts of archery season and all the way through season. And you know, winter rye, even over winter wheat, is my recommendation. And I think you should look for it too. And hey, I have other rye videos in my list of videos back there. I think I put one out a year ago that's got over 3,500 views, and you might want to get into my list and check that one out as well. But I hope you found this video a little bit helpful, educational, and gives you some hope that you still have some time to do your fall food plots yet this season. You know, we're here in the latter third of August, and it's getting to be a critical time. But I've planted rye well into September, even the first part of October, because you're going to see a lot of farmers in the areas putting in these cover crops after they take off corn silage and possibly even take some soybeans off. So check it out. It'd be a great thing to implement into your food plot program this year.